Do we have a whole lot of gameplay of this? I think that's the thing that I'm
We don't have any gameplay of it.
zero gameplay of Fair
Yep.
Games at all.
It is
Wow.
only that it is only that like initial CGI cutscene trailer.
Man, and the fact that it was rejected so bad.
Yep.
Wow, absolutely amazing. And this was kind of shocking yesterday to see, and this kind of came out of nowhere. As PlayStation executive Jade Raymond. Now, do you know anything about Jade Raymond, Vera?
She's been in the industry for a very long time. She's quite a businesswoman, that's for sure.
She is an exceptional businesswoman. She is maybe one of the bestest businesswomen in the video game space. A little background on Jade Raymond, a Canadian-born video game producer, best known for helping create the Assassin's Creed and Watch Dog franchises, as well as building Ubisoft Toronto and Motive Studio. Okay. It says Raymond announced she's founding an independent development team called Haven Studios, which was later acquired by Sony Interactive Entertainment in July of 2022. This is going to be important here. So this part right here, we're going to come back to this in just a second. Okay.
You know, I'm pretty offended that up there doesn't say her leading achievement, which was joining Google as the head of Stadia Games.
Bingo. Okay, we're gonna talk about that here just as a quick. Yes, that is something that is worth noting here. She joined Google as vice president, and she would be heading up Google's studios, Stadia Games and Entertainment. We all know what happened to Google Studios and Stadia as it went womp womp in February of 2021, when it should have been thriving during COVID. It couldn't get a grasp of the market right here, and Stadia ended up getting rejected to half court. And ultimately, the entire service got shut down and department got shut down. Raymond announced her departure from Stadia Games and Entertainment, as well as Google, concurrent with Google's announcement to wind down for their in-house Stadia games. Yes. Then she went out and she founded Haven Studios. Okay, fast forward to today, and boom, she's out. She has been announced that she leaves the studio she founded. Her company, Haven Studios, is developing an online shooter title called Fair Games. Okay, let's talk about Fair Games. Do you remember this trailer here? I'm not going to play the music, but here is the idea that this is the anti-capitalist looter shooter here.
Yeah, cheat the rich, eat the rich.
That's right here, where the target was billionaires in this. And this is the game. This was announced last year at 451,000 views on the trailer. Only 4,000 thumbs up, right? And you can kind of see some of this. This is not gameplay. This is just like a CGI trailer here.
What do you mean? Games actually showing gameplay in a trailer? What do you expect?
Hey, Vera, maybe we should have seen gameplay from this.
Of
because
course.
People
I'm
did
not
not
buying
have
a movie, I'm buying a video game. So show me the game.
That's right. People did not take to this trailer very well. They were like, really? Enough of this bullshit? We're kind of done with it, with this looter shooter stuff and kind of the messaging associated with this. But this game was not received well. It was rejected, and people didn't want anything to do with it. And the rumors around this is that she was more or less not so much pushed out, but here's the kind of takeaways from the article. And by the way, when you see these AI takeaways here on these articles, doesn't it just totally just defeat the purpose of having these articles to begin with? But
yes.
Anyway,
so the AI has been programmed to lie.
Sure.
Oh. Dun, dun, dun. Jade Raymond, founder and head of Sony's Haven Studios, has left the company. The departure came after an external test of Haven's first game, Fair Games, which some developers were concerned about due to its reception and progress. Yikes. So she gets ousted for their first game, which, by the way, once again, I want to go back and say she sold this company. Mm-hmm. This company, Haven Software, was sold to Sony before they released a single game, before they had an ounce of revenue, a cent of revenue, just investment. Brilliant, this lady. This lady is fucking brilliant, right? Clearly extremely well off. But I don't understand. So people have to start asking, right? And I'm gonna turn to RGT for this quote over on X. He says, they say the greatest con was Satan convincing the world he didn't exist, but Jade conning these companies is a close second. This lady has been an executive in the gaming space since the first Assassin's Creed. And it's amazing to kind of see her be able to coast on, I'm guessing, that reputation of the original Assassin's Creed. So much so because I don't know. I'm not going to say it's because of how she looks. She obviously has some sort of ability. She's obviously incredibly smart, and very business savvy to be able to sell her companies like this, and to see the success that she's seen. So zero shade. But I'm just curious, like, what are these people seeing in Jade Raymond to continuously bring her back and back and back?
I think one of the elements is that she's able to form a team of industry veterans, because even looking at Haven, there were several people who had previously worked at EA, who had previously worked at Ubisoft. So she kind of had I don't want to say a decent team in terms of content, right? Because just because someone made something good 20 years ago doesn't mean they can make something good today. But she got together a decent team in terms of names. And so I think that because she's been able to do that over and over, it's really helped her stay relevant.
Well, so relevant that she continues to receive opportunities until now, where once again, it sounds like she's been booted out of the company that she founded after selling it. And Vera, this is from you over on X, with the Eat the Rich stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sony's Eat the Rich competitive heist live service title, Fair Games, has lost its studio founder after, quote, growing concerns about how the game was received and its progress during a recent external test, which is interesting because we haven't heard anything about this external test. We haven't heard really anything about this game in general. So it seems like maybe they just had a very small group of people who were testing it, because typically if there's some kind of external test, somebody leaks some kind of information about it. We hear articles and we hear information, but we didn't in this case, which just makes me think that either one, nobody was really that interested in it, or two, they really didn't invite that many people to the test.
And we see, that Fair Games was pushed back to 2026, apparently. And now people are talking about it may just be done. The Fair Games may just be put on the shelf.
Well, the same thing that happened with Haven is what we saw with Firewalk. Firewalk hadn't released anything. Sony bought Firewalk. Sony dumped hundreds of millions of dollars into the game, and then it only lasted 2 weeks. In this case, Haven hadn't created anything. They only had the CGI trailer. I don't even know if it's going to get its 2 weeks in the spotlight, because I don't even think that this game is going to launch at this point. But it's a very similar situation where Sony is basically going out on a limb to give companies an extreme amount of money to continue the development process for their games, but then they just come out and they're trash because they're so out of touch with what gamers actually want.
When you hear the reception is bad for something like Fair Games, let's keep in mind that the reception internally for Concord was really good.
It was, yeah.
So how bad does it have to be when they're like, so we have this thing called Concord and we liked it, but everybody hates this shit, this Fair Games game? Like, yikes. Fucking yikes, man. Very yikes. Now, okay, so I'm looking at the development cost of this. I just did a quick Google search or AI search over on Brave, and it says the development cost of Fair Games is not directly specified in the provided context. However, it is mentioned that Fair Game, the studio behind Fair Games, raised $6 million over 2 funding rounds, with the latest being a $3 million funding round on August 17th, 2022. Additionally, the studio had £5 million put in it when invest in a $1.1 million round of investors in a funding round. So like millions of dollars put into the studio and ultimately this game. And it's probably not going to see the light of day, at least in its current form, for sure. So
yeah.
Yikes to say the least.